if you've read various astrology books, you may find this one very different from what you have already studied. Um, there's different opinions, there's different theories. I suggest that if you study astrology, you study it in a form of a science, like Aristotle did. And this way you have kind of an open mind to what is being put out there. Hi, Phoenix family. So today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about astrology. I have this book right here, The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need by Joanne Martin Wolflook, also the author of Sexual Astrology. I've had this book for a good 20 years, and what we're going to talk about is the basics of astrology and how old it really is. In my research, it's a minimum of 3,000 years old. Okay, and it formed in Egypt and all over Greece and everything in approximately 2,400 years ago. So if you figured it's 2019 right now, astrology is traced back before the calendar that we know. Okay, so also in my research, I wanted to know where astrology started at, where it began, and I did some studies on Aristotle. And Aristotle studied astrology in a form of science, okay? The first astrological sign that was used to describe a person's personality was actually the Pisces, which is the two fish, okay? In this book right here, it's very modern, and yet if you've read various astrology books, you may find this one very different from what you have already studied. There's different opinions, there's different theories. I suggest that if you study astrology, you study it in a form of a science, like Aristotle did. And this way you have kind of an open mind to what is being put out there. Because with all the 12 signs that's in the astrology book, and the studies of putting the planets together with the moon and the stars and the sun and all of that, and to when a person is born, you might find 50 people that are all, say, Pisces, but for some reason, 47 of them fit exactly as the book says, and you have 3 of them that don't fit at all. Same with Sagittarius, Gemini, Leo, and so on. Okay? The common features of astrology is not so much just the sign, but the birth element, such as Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries are all fire. It is very common that those 3 signs are very in tune with how they feel and what they do and what they're going after. Short fuses. They are likely to act before thinking. Those kinds of things, or those kinds of behaviors, and they're very quickly heated, for lack of better words. But then, while I tell you that, you may meet somebody of those 3 signs that doesn't quite qualify in that. So, when you study it, keep an open idea to the fact that is it Sagittarius or is it fire? Or is it life experiences that makes a person behave in the way that they do? I love astrology, and I like the horoscope idea. I'm not fully 100% into the idea that my horoscope says I will meet somebody and be completely successful today. I like it. I like the way it sounds, and I think, oh, that's very cool. That's my horoscope today. This is going to happen. But then 5 minutes later, I leave it at that. I do not put a lot of heavy weight into it or expectation into it. And the reason why for that part is on top of the study of astrology, Horoscopes are only a mainstream thought pattern of many, many people. When you go and read the newspaper or you read those little pamphlets that you get with the little horoscopes in it, there are hundreds of people putting interpretation into making these little horoscopes. You would find that this magazine, this book, and the newspaper, all under, say, Gemini, all three of them have different interpretations. Two of which are really good, while the third one's going to say, Gemini, you're having a bad day. But these two said it was really good. So that's another reason why I don't put a lot of weight into it, because I understand that it is just individual interpretation of their studies of astrology, of their interpretation of what the horoscope would be as a whole. Okay, so what I'm telling you is if you choose to study astrology or even get an idea of it, this is an amazing book to work with. It really is. I absolutely recommend this book. It's just that I recommend it on the terms of science, allowing yourself to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, life experience has taught me this. So I understand this part of life and science itself, while I also understand the author's interpretation of why this works in the way that it does. I have a friend who is an earth element. I've talked about her before in my videos. Her name is Jennifer. And she does not fall at all under what astrology says that she should. Her horoscope is never right. Her astrology charts are never accurate. And yet, that's when she was born. That's the element that she falls under. But it's not her in any way, shape, or form. Is that fair to say that astrology is wrong? Not necessarily. But it could be her environment that she grew up in. It could be that the way that she was raised or the way that she thinks. So it would create a different ideal. Astrology is good in a group aspect. It has got to be a little bit more detailed scientifically if you're going to try to break it down on an individual basis. All right. So, again, it's just a recommendation. If you do want to study astrology, this is the book to use. And think like Aristotle did. Look at it in a way of science. If you are really good into astrology, it's something that you study greatly, then maybe putting a few birth charts together would be something that you would be interested in. But when you do the birth charts using the book, okay, you're making the chart, you're putting it together for this person, take some time to do the chart without observing them first, because you want to give yourself an idea, okay, the book says this should be. Do the whole chart on that. And then give yourself time to actually observe that person, and you determine on yourself, does this person fall under the ideas of astrology or do they not? And if they don't, why? What is it about that person that makes them not fall under the chart that they supposedly should fall under? Okay, that is how science creates theory. They give you an idea, which would be the chart of what should be, and then they go and test the theory and see if it works. All right, Aristotle did that. I liked the way Aristotle worked. I liked his philosophy, so I kind of went into the same idea with it for myself. I love it. I enjoy it. Astrology is a lot of fun, but I'm also open to the fact that for whatever reason, and it varies for different people, they don't always fall into that chart. Therefore, if they don't fall into that chart, these supposed expected behaviors will not be there. Okay, and that's something to seriously take into consideration. If you are the kind of person that studies astrology to determine partnership, alliances, or friends, you may be missing out on good people in your life. Or you may be deciding that this is the perfect person in my life because this chart said so, and come to find out that they don't. Okay? That they don't fall under the chart as expected. So you thought, oh, this is going to be a wonderful person. And it's like, I put way too much weight on that astrology chart. All right? Like I said at the beginning, you could also take somebody and go, oh, well, they're Pisces, and Pisces and I don't get along. So I'm just not going to have this friendship, to later find out that they could have been a really good friend, somebody that you could have been reliable on. All right? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that for right now. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on astrology, or at least my understanding of astrology, studying it on a science form, please comment below. Alright guys, that's going to be it. I'm going to show you the book one more time. The only astrology book you'll ever need. Alright? Thank you guys. I love you. Mwah. Have a good night.